welcome to the DevReady Podcast, where we help non-techs build better tech. Today we have Jules Brooke joining us from Handle Your Own PR. Jules, thanks for joining us.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
And we're doing this online in the middle of lockdown during coronavirus, so it is all online at the moment, so hopefully the audio quality comes out for you. But yeah, it all sounding pretty good at the moment.
Oh, good.
Now, Jules, Handle Your Own PR. What's that
Yes.
about, and what does that actually mean?
Okay, so I had a PR agent. Where do I start? I taught myself how to do PR. Many years ago, I picked up a client. I went to a party, actually, met Con the Fruiterer, the comedian who thought that I did PR.
Nice. He thought that you did PR.
He
Okay.
thought that I did PR because I was there with the publicist. And it was just social. And 2 weeks later, he rings me and says, Jules, they're bringing out a Best of Con the Fruiterer DVD, and you're the best person to do PR. And I really needed the money because I had a little baby and a business that wasn't really going anywhere. So I said, okay, I'll give it a go.
Nice.
I didn't say that to him. I just said that to myself.
Of course.
And off I went, and I rang the radio stations and I rang the TV stations and the newspapers, and lo and behold, they were actually quite happy to hear from me.
Yes.
And I got him a whole lot of coverage, and then when I went back to the DVD company and said, these are all the interviews I've got, they went, oh, wow, that's amazing. Here's another 5 DVDs. And so I basically built an agency on the back of teaching myself how to do PR. For 15 years, we had about 7 or 8 staff, and I used to train people who were mums or waiters or salespeople. We had all sorts of people that came and worked with us, and we taught them how to do PR. And then, funnily enough, the last time there was a recession in 2008 when the GFC hit,
Yes.
I had this light bulb moment and thought, when all our clients peeled off, because we worked a lot with entrepreneurs and startups and things.
Okay.
And most people I found, and to this day it hasn't really changed, can't easily afford $3 or $4 grand a month for 6 months in order to pay an agency to do it, but they want it. And what I realised, I guess, was that the media are desperate for it as well. And why didn't I just take out the middleman and teach people how to do it themselves? So that's where it all started, and it's been a bit of a journey since then, but I did launch a SaaS platform myself for PR in 2017 and have basically brought it all online, and the last little bit that was offline became online, funnily enough, during this pandemic. So
everything's online now. Perfect. So, in terms of, I'm a tech. We're focusing on tech startups, right? So we've got a SaaS product or a tech product. Why is PR important to a business like that?
Okay, so that's a great question. For tech startups and people that are innovating, the media, it's like catnip for the media. They just want to know about new stuff. They want to know about innovations. They want to know about things that make things easier for other people and for other business owners. So the reason why you should be doing it is because what it will do is it will build awareness very, very quickly, because you can actually get articles in massive magazines or newspapers that you couldn't possibly afford to advertise in. For instance, the Sydney Morning Herald or the Australian or the Fin Review or the Herald Sun, as well as getting yourself on TV, getting yourself in radio interviews. And what that does is builds the awareness. It also positions you as being a leader in your field, because people do think that the media goes out to find the best people to speak to. They don't realise that the media responds to what they're sent.
Interesting.
It also gives you, and you guys would know better than me, great backlinks. So there is the way that Google values things. It loves media outlets, and so gives a lot of prominence to anything that comes out of the media. So once you have it on your website, or you get those backlinks backwards and forwards from you to a media outlet, it's great. Also fantastic for social media. It's free. I don't know whether people realise, but you don't pay the media to write stories or to publish your articles. You just have to write them in a way that the media loves.
Nice.
And basically you can own your Google page. If you can do PR for, say, 6 months and get, say, 20 articles published, anybody who Googles you or your business will find there's 2 or 3 pages of articles there, which is really powerful and will help you with investors as well because it sort of positions you really nicely.
Okay, Jules, where do I sign up?
It gives you that really strong brand awareness, I guess.
Yeah, huge.
That's the end goal of it.
It's massive. And the more on the back of the pandemic, everyone has gone online. But really, I think even when we come out of this, there'll be many more people online than were before. And so you want to have that online presence that you will get if you've got articles that are linking back to your page.
I think that's opens up my chain of thought as to why we could be using PR, why people out there should be. So now, based on that information, we're looking to build awareness, obviously improve our brand, be seen as leaders. Where do I go? Do I just write an PR article? What do I do? What's important within an article or within something that I put out into the market? What's that's going to get attention? So where do I start there?
Okay, so the first thing that you need before you even get started when it comes to publicity is you need to have your website up and running because all that the media will ever do is send people to your website. They are not interested in promoting your phone number or your email address or anything else. So you have to have your website ready, which I'll take as a given for you and your people.
Yeah, sure.
You also need to have photography. Now, that is something that a lot of people trip over. And look, it is possible to send out media releases without an image, but let me just tell you why. When you read an article anywhere, online, in print, whatever, there is always an image as an illustration for that article, at least one, if not more than one. So the media has to find an image that goes with your story. Now, if you just send them a headshot, or you don't send them anything, then their job is to go out and find something that will illustrate that story. And they absolutely hate doing it. And it takes ages, as it does for all of us, because we all hate doing it too. So it's really, really important. In fact, it can literally make or break your campaign if that you have some really great illustrative images. Now, for instance, with you guys, with SaaS platforms, people go, what can I do? What kind of image can I do? So you've got to think about what it is that you're giving your customers and how you can help them and what sort of articles you're going to do. So one of the easiest ways that people can do it, and I know this sounds really silly, but it is really easy and it's really cheap, is get a professional photographer if you can. If not, find somebody who's really good at photography and put yourself up against a white background or a light background and use your face as a human emoticon. You know what I mean? So just make a whole lot of different faces. I use one of my face all scrunched up and I'm pulling my hair out, and I use it a lot for articles that I write about is trying to promote your business, making you go crazy. Are you pulling your hair out at the cost of promoting your business, that kind of thing. I've got a shocked face that I use for, are you shocked by the price of marketing? Or are you shocked to know, I can use it for whatever. So I've got a shocked one. I've got ones where I kind of have my finger on the side of my nose, like I know a secret you don't. I've got one like a little mini me from Austin Powers, where I'm kind of like I can do a little joke kind of one. I have recommended this to people all over, and it works really, really well because obviously it's getting your face out there, firstly. Secondly, it's fun and it's something different. And if it's a good shot, the media will love it. They will use it all the time. So that's a really obvious one. Then there are ones that you can do that are a little bit more complex, but it's always worth doing them because you'll be able to use them across all your marketing and on your website as well. But for instance, if you're talking about web traffic, you could get someone to take a photo of you standing on a traffic island and have the blurred cars going backwards and forwards beside you. Or you could get yourself underneath a traffic light to show that it's green or red, or are you all systems go? Are you ready to do this? That kind of thing. So try and be creative or find a creative person that you can brainstorm with and get some really good quality images because that will be super important for your campaign. And then that's kind of all you need to get going.
Okay, so website and some really good photography and images.
Yeah.
So they can't be stock photos, basically. That's not what we want.
Look, the journalists can find stock photos as well, but the reality is we can all recognise a stock photo.
Yes,
I mean, we all look at them and go, it's one of those cheesy shots.
Yeah.
So taking your own shots mean you own them, you've got the IP, and you honestly, great shots, you can use it so many times. I mean, I use mine on social media. I make little Canva memes and put my face into it for promotions. I use it for, obviously, all my PR. The other thing to think about is landscape versus portrait and try and get a selection of both so that if the story is going to run vertically down a page, they might want a full-length body shot. I've got a couple of me kind of making silly things as well, full-length. But think about portrait and landscape and do try and have a selection of both so that the journalists have got some to choose from.
Okay.
And then once you've got all of that, you're pretty much ready to go. And then it becomes really easy. So the way that you write an article is counterintuitive to what most people think. You're not actually promoting your business, and your business shouldn't really feature in that article until the last paragraph.
Okay.
What you really want to do is think of all the questions that people ask you. So if you go out to a barbecue or a party and people say, what do you do? And you tell them, there will be the same questions that people continually ask you. Oh, what's a SaaS platform? I mean, in your case, it might be, what's a SaaS platform? How does it work? How much does it cost? Why would anyone do it? What kind of customers do you have? It's all that kind of thing. So then you can take those questions, turn them into a headline, like what is a SaaS platform and why would you have it, and then answer it.
Okay.
And then you know that that's the sort of information that people want. So that's one really easy way to start your PR. The other thing is if you're writing articles for LinkedIn or for newsletters, just take them and repurpose them and send them out to the media first. Then if the media picks it up, great. And if the media doesn't pick it up, it's still something you can put up on LinkedIn. But I guess one of the things that I really want to stress to people is that what has happened through the pandemic particularly, and really what's been happening over the last few years, is that the media is shedding staff like you wouldn't believe. And as a result, they need people to send them information. They need those stories, pre-written articles as well as story ideas, but they need them sent to them with a great image so that they can plot them in and move on to the next one. Because, and through the pandemic, the media is getting about 4 times as much traffic and half as much content being sent to them because the PR agencies, a lot of them have closed their doors. A lot of clients have gone, oh my God, I don't want to say anything at the moment, which is completely the wrong attitude.
That's the wrong attitude,
isn't
it? Interesting.
And so there's twice as much need and half as much content out there. So I would say your chances of getting picked up right now and building some profiles so that when we come out of this, everyone knows who you are is huge.
Interesting. So
there's
an opportunity out there if anyone's listening to start building some PR. So you mentioned here pretty quickly was more about answering questions. Now, can that be a little bit dry and boring, or if you're looking at innovative stuff? So how do you make it more interesting?
If you think, what you think is boring isn't boring to other people. The stuff that you know that people want to know. And so I would say everyone, whether they have a nutrition website and they want to help people with, the best kind of nutrition to use or how to use their nutrition calculator, whenever you go out there saying, do you know the value of, apples and how much they, you can be as I don't want to say dumb, but it can be very simple. I mean, journalists are told to write as if their audience is 9 years old. Okay. You need to think about writing to explain it to your best friend's mother. That's the way I always think of it.
So it's people who don't know anything about the space you're in.
That's right. People who have absolutely no idea. Don't assume that you are talking to a sophisticated audience because your current customers know who you are and the people in the industry know stuff. But your clients invariably come from outside of that circle. Some of them might not even know that they need your service. So you need to explain what the service is and what the benefits are.
Okay.
That's why you always get the same questions over and over then.
Right, because people just want to know. And even though, people think, oh my God, if I'm going to show myself as a thought leader and I want to be shown to really know my stuff, I need to make it very sophisticated, my communication. But that's completely the wrong strategy. You should be going out with as simple as possible, because that means it will have a much, much wider audience, and will always be at the bottom of a media release. You must do a call to action, something like, if you want to know more about how to run a SaaS platform, or you want to know more about PR, go to www.handleyourownpr or whatever your web address is.
Okay.
So if we take the approach of trying to write a technical and high-level thing, you're probably only trying to promote yourself to the people in your own industry and your peers.
Exactly. And that is a huge mistake that people... That's right. That's not where your customers come from.
No.
That might make you look good to your peers, but and obviously there's no reason why you wouldn't do it, but you're not going to do that to bring in new customers. And that's really what you want the PR to do, to bring in new customers. Other than, I guess, you might get referrals and recommendations.
Yep.
Yeah, which is not the objective of PR. It's about creating awareness, like we said before.
Yeah. I think so. And I mean, if you were writing for the Fin Review, let's say we're writing about Arian, how do I say that?
Arian.
Yes.
Yes.
So say you wanted to get an article in the Fin Review, I would be talking about how SaaS platforms are the new, black, and then start talking about, because it's the Fin Review, they like numbers, so they would want to know how it's increasing people's income, how it gives them a regular, predictable income, how it's helping people's customers and it's drawing people in, etc., etc. But if you were wanting to pick up your new customers and get something in the Herald Sun, you might not even use the word SaaS. You might be talking about online platforms that people can actually use on the platform to do blah, blah, blah. Because things like SaaS and software and things like that can frighten some people off. And then if you were going to IT Wire, you might do something that sort of sits nicely in the middle of those two, not too dumb, but not too sophisticated, because you want to get to people that have an understanding about IT, but not bamboozle them with jargon that they don't really understand.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about that. So, if we let's play a little bit of a game. We'll talk about DevReady itself. So, DevReady Podcast uses as a case study, helping non-techs build better tech. And describing what the opportunities are in the landscape. So questions that get asked for us is, what's it cost to build an app? It's one of Anthony's favourite questions. So just simplistic.
Get that every day.
Yeah, get that every day. Or building some technology to automate your business, or whatever it might be. So they could be topics that you could write about, potentially. Some really... It's more informational based. So it's how to...
Absolutely. But the thing about PR and the thing about the media is they are not there to promote your business. They are there to help their readers or help their viewers. Okay. So if you want to be featured, then you need to give them something that helps their readers or their viewers. It's not about helping you. That's just a fabulous byproduct of it.
Get it.
It's actually about you helping their readers understand something or avoid making a mistake or have to choose something or 10 things they didn't know about, automating your business, or 5 things you didn't know about apps, or why creating an app might be the cheapest thing that you've ever done, or the best thing that you could ever do, even though it might cost you. There's just so many different topics that you could talk about that would make sense to people and might make people pick up the phone and go, gee, that company really knows their stuff. I must give them a call. The other thing I would say, though, is be very generous with your information. So don't hide stuff. I see people saying all the time, well, I don't want to give away my IP. I do this in a specific way. And I would say nobody really, the chance of somebody reading an article on something where you've explained how something works and then going off and doing it themselves has to be about, I would say, 1 or 2%.
Yes.
What you will have is a whole lot of people that go, wow, that person really knows what they're talking about. They're the person I should talk to.
Get it.
Yep.
And that's the objective here. But you mentioned it's about helping. It's about how we can help build articles.
Absolutely. And with this podcast, that's exactly what you're doing. You're helping people who don't understand technology to understand the benefits of it. So that is exactly what you should be doing in the media as well. Speaking to people who don't know technology and explaining what it is, why they should be doing it, what an app is, how much. And if someone says, how much does it cost, you can go, that would be a great headline if everyone's asking you that every day. How much does an app cost and why should I do it? And then answer it underneath. And your answer could easily be, how long is a piece of string?
Exactly.
That's what it
I
always
can't
is.
tell you. They range in price from $5,000 to $500,000.
Yeah.
It depends what you want in there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's just answering questions. Now, so from any perspective, you obviously have to pick a market who you're talking to. So how do I go about finding where to send these articles to? Where do I look at where my target market is? What's the approach there?
You just answered it beautifully, Andrew. What you need to do is you need to think, who are my target market? And what I want you to do when you do, or what I always encourage people to do, is think in as small a niche as possible.
Okay.
So let's again use the DevReady podcast as an example. So you probably have small business owners who haven't even got any tech knowledge, but have maybe got an idea that they'd like to have an app, or they'd like to have SaaS platform, but they don't even know that it's called a SaaS platform. Then you've got people that you want to refer to you. So that would be sort of sophisticated IT people. You probably have got businesses that are growing really fast that should be automating, and they don't know what they don't know. You know, they don't know that they need to automate yet because they don't know the benefits of it, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, you guys, if you sat down, could probably come up with about 15 different niches.
Yes.
Then you need to look at each of those and go, okay, what media is that person watching? Now, I know that we kind of go, well, they probably know the Age or the Herald Sun. They probably watch the news at night. So let's take those out of the equation, because yes, if you can get a story up in those, that's great. But what other ones are they reading? So let's go for the person who works at home. Well, they might be part of the Flying Solo group who take loads and loads of content, or they might be part of Koshi's Business Builders, and they put a newsletter out every week, and they're constantly looking for content.
Okay.
Or they might be morning TV. You know, you might have a whole lot of women that are doing it, and they might be watching morning TV. You might have people that watch The Project. It might be people that you know, and we know everyone pretty much reads magazines on the weekend. And if you're trying to attract investors, you might want to go to the Fin Review or Smart Company. There's just so many different media, and don't forget radio. So radio has a massive need for interviews.
Okay.
Every radio station and every show probably does about 10 interviews a day. So they need those people to be sent to them. Now, normally the PR companies would be sending them, huge amounts of suggestions. I would imagine right at the moment that they're only getting half as much as they usually get. And they've got a real need for people to be coming forward and saying, look, I know you do a 1 hour or 3 hour show about IT or about business. How about I come on and I could answer some of your listeners' questions, or I could explain in simple terms the benefits of automating your business, or whatever it might be.
Okay, so it's really just getting a grip on your niches, and then obviously looking within all the gamuts of media, because in reality, everyone's going to be tuning into some form of that. And even within your own niche, you're going to have people that prefer to listen to the radio or podcasts, or even another place you could potentially put yourself in some bigger areas. TV, some people might.
And don't forget blogs.
Yeah, blogs.
And there's people starting kind of their own media networks all the time. So, for instance, I've got a show on Ticker TV, which I would have thought actually is perfect for you guys, because it's all about innovation, business and technology.
Yes.
So you start to put yourself forward. They are advertising on SourceBottle at the moment. I don't know if you guys know about SourceBottle. And I'll tell you about that one in a minute, but they are advertising because they have to do 15 to 20 interviews a day. Okay. And they're just not getting enough people putting themselves forward.
Interesting. So there's plenty of room out there for people to put themselves out there. Anthony, you've used that,
and put an article through it.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, SourceBottle, for anyone that doesn't know it, is SOURCE. So you are the source of a story. And it's a free service, and you just sign yourself up and you say, these are the topics I'm interested in. And journalists go on there and go looking for people to interview. So you will see call-outs. You get a newsletter twice a day with call-outs with things like looking for an expert to talk about, the pandemic and how it's affecting business. And if you've got something to say, you can offer to be that person. And quite big media outlets are in there. So you've got everything from TV news to The Age to the Fin Review. Everyone uses it, and they use it when they're trying to find a source for an interview, or they're looking for articles that they want to include. So it's a if you are actively looking for PR, I would say it's an absolute no-brainer that you would sign up for that and check the call-outs every day and just see if there is something in there where you could answer.
Okay, and how?
Yeah, just from today's email, there's COVID-19 small business experts, list on info on sitemaps, tips on successful information architecture planning, how to get the most from freelance websites, etc.
There you go. There you go.
In that space.
And it's something that it's what I call passive PR. You don't actually have to be proactive about it and send anything out to the media. You just answer it. And if the journalist likes what it is that you say, they will call you. My big tip would be don't spend hours and hours putting articles in there. Just tell them what it is that you can offer and why you're the best person to offer it, and make sure you put your phone number in your response. I've heard that from a few people recently, and the phone number means the journalist can just pick up the phone and call you. So chances are they might use you rather than someone when they've got to wait for a response from an email.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not, don't submit the whole article through there, just put the tips on what you'll be able to provide.
Yeah, or not even the tips. Like, it shouldn't take you. Beck Darrington, who runs SourceBottle, is a really good friend of mine, and she always says you shouldn't spend more than 5 minutes responding.
Okay.
So if somebody asks you to write a whole article, don't do it. Just go back to them and say, look, I'm happy to write. This is the topic I could write on. Here's my phone number, but don't go to a lot of effort, because 40,000 people get that email every morning and every afternoon. And if you don't get picked up, you've just wasted 2 hours of your time or an hour of your time writing an article that doesn't get picked up.
That's sort of been the barrier to me submitting a few things on here.
Interesting. That's a good tip there. Much easier.
Yeah, exactly. So if they say, answer these 4 things below, unless they are guaranteeing that they're going to publish it, don't bother. Just move on to the next one.
Okay.
There's lots and lots of opportunities on there.
So that's obviously PR or agencies reaching out or media outlets reaching out?
No, no, it's journalists. It's the journalists specifically. So they've been asked by their editor to write a story on something, and then they're looking for sources to interview for the story.
Okay, perfect. So it's much easier to put yourself out there. But you've obviously got a lot of competition, I imagine, on that space.
Yeah.
Potentially, I guess.
Yeah. No, very, very good. So let's get back to the part of I've written an article. Now, do I just email this directly to some people I find? For example, Fin Review. What do I do? Just send it out to a generic email?
Okay.
Where do I start?
All right, so there's a couple of ways you can do it. I'm going to have to give myself a plug in a minute.
Yeah, of course.
The first way, if Handle Your Own PR didn't exist, what you would do is you would go and Google the topic that you want to see the journalists that are writing about it, and then contact one of those journalists.
Okay.
Probably by ringing reception at whatever media outlet they are. So you just Google, the Fin Review or whatever, ring through to the editorial department.
Okay.
And tell them your story idea, and often they will say, great, send something through, and this is the email address to send it to. So that is one way of doing it. But I have got a SaaS platform with 3,000 or 4,000 journalists just sitting there waiting to hear from people. So that would be the other option.
And a much easier option by the sound of it. So talk a little bit about what Handle Your Own PR does and what the SaaS platform means. What if I come on and use it? What does it mean?
Okay, so Handle Your Own PR, I set it up initially. I used to just sell media lists, and I had a whole lot of writing on there, and we didn't make any sales at all. And so I guess over, it's been nearly 10 years now, I have slowly understood that people need to the biggest mistake I see from business owners is that they are way too commercial. They write something that looks like an ad.
Okay.
It doesn't look like an informative article. So what I have is created 2 programs. One is called the Pr Bootcamp, which is some video lessons, an ebook, weekly mentoring from me that I do group live mentoring. And you get a closed Facebook group, and you get 3 months on the platform to use it. Then I've got another one that I've just launched that is on the back of a program I've been running for the last 2 years, where I get business owners to sit with journalists for 2 days, and the journalists will help you come up with the newsworthy angles. You then write your media release, and they will edit it for you. So that worked beautifully. And then, of course, we all had to come online. So I started a 3-month PR Accelerator online,
Okay.
where you get everything from the bootcamp, but you also get a day where, and I ran one yesterday and it worked perfectly. I think somebody got in the Herald Sun.
Oh, nice.
And someone got on the project.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the
So
results are pretty good.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, the results are normally, I'm at about 98% success rate with the accelerator, because by the time you've sat with a journalist for 4 or 5 hours, you know pretty well how everything works and what bits of your story are useful or not.
All right, nice.
So the idea is you spend 2 hours with me in the morning and I do some education and or Q&As. Then you get to sit with us in an open Zoom call for 4 or 5 hours with the journalist.
Okay.
And you get one journalist allocated to you and they will sit, understand your business. You tell them everything. I still insist on making you guys do the writing, or making people, the business owners, write, because there is a style that once you crack it,
Yes.
you don't need me ever again. You'll know how to do it.
Okay.
And then you do 2 hours at the end of the day where I help you build a media contact list on the SaaS platform and load up your media release and schedule it to go out, or even send it out.
Very interesting. That gives people a nice little boot camp on how, what.
Yeah.
Speaking directly with journalists, I think that's pretty powerful in terms of understanding their thinking, what's important to them when they're publicising a story. And to get people in the Herald Sun and on the project off the back of that is outstanding results. So, yeah, very interesting.
I can imagine the results that come from that as well.
Correct.
I think it was more than that. I think we've also got ABC Radio. We've got a couple of parenting magazines. So
wow.
It works really well, and the SaaS platform has been set up. So if you know what you're doing with PR, you could just sign up for the platform.
Yes.
The platform, actually, you go in, you name your campaign, and then you go and choose the media out. Well, you choose by using categories and keywords. You choose, parenting or IT or business or news or whatever. And then whether you want it to be TV, radio, podcasts, industry, media, I've got a whole lot of different sections.
Okay.
So you build your own list. Then I've got a template where you drop your logo in, drop in your photo, put in your headline, your body copy, any bio, any additional photos, all goes in. It all gets formatted into a beautiful PDF in a format that the journalists understand.
Okay.
And then you jump to a page where you get to see all the journalists' names, phone numbers, contact details, email addresses, everything. And you can select the ones that you want to send to. And it pops up with an email widget where you write so you can send yourself a test one, but after that you write the email that goes out with your media release. Hi, Mr. Journalist, I feel really passionate, or I noticed that a lot of small business owners are doing it tough because they're not automating their business. Here is this article that I've written about why businesses should look at automation. And then the way our system works is it cuts the body copy of your media release or your content into the body of the email, and then attaches it all formatted as a PDF, so that the journalist doesn't even have to click. They can see straight away what your story is. And then everything jumps into a follow-up page where I encourage everyone to send out a follow-up email if you haven't heard from the journalist within 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And that's because these days journalists are missing things, as we all are, in our massive Google inboxes.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are only getting picked up on the second one. So it's super important that you don't give up if you haven't heard anything after the first one, that you do the follow-up email as well.
Oh, follow-up is always important in everything, so PR is no exception.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Now, is this a strategy you would say do on every article once you write an article for your blog? So if you do like a weekly article, would you put that into this sort of system and then push it out that frequently?
I would. But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unlimited use. And when people say, is it too often to do it once a week? I would say, imagine all the PR agencies out there. If you had a PR agency with 30 staff, you might have 15 of them sending things to people every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So don't worry about your frequency. You just need to worry that you've got different angles each time.
What about recycling your content? So if you just do the same thing again a month later?
Well, what I would say is actually pick the media first before you publish it anywhere yourself. So let them have first dibs, because they'll want the exclusive. And then, of course, if they publish it, you can actually put it in your blog as a published article with a link to the blog. And you can even blog about how you got it, or why you got it, or why you wrote it in the first place, But I would repurpose the other way around. So I would always send to the media first, and then if they don't use it in different ways. And if they do use it, then you have a very, very powerful story to put in your blog and push out through social media.
Brilliant. So just some tips now about what I put in this release. How long should they be? You've obviously answered, you want to answer questions and help people, but like, should they be 2,000 words, 500 words? Or is it dependent on where I'm targeting? How do I approach that angle?
Okay, so the most important thing you need to do is get a great headline that is not super long. I try and say 6 to 8 words, and it needs to clearly say what it is that you're doing, even if it's a play on words. I mean, a bit of humour goes down very well. If you're good at puns, I would say you'll be in heaven with headlines.
Okay.
And then you want to write about 500 to 600 words.
500 to 600 words.
They're short and sweet. If the journalist wants more, they'll come back and say, can you write another 200 or 300 words? But most of the time, we don't have a big attention span, as you probably know from websites.
Correct.
So people are looking for a short, snappy story where they can understand it quickly, and there's somewhere they can go if they do want to know more.
Get it. Okay, so keep it short and sharp, to the point. Get some puns in there, make some great headlines, because that's what's really...
Yes, and make sure you have that call to action. The number of people that write an article and then don't have at the bottom... for more information, go to www.whatever. It's just a massive mistake.
Okay.
And it's also, the other little trick that I sometimes try and do, because I want backlinks, is I often don't put my company name as Handle Your Own PR individual words. Even in my releases, I do handleyourownpr.com.au as the URL, just because I think it'll give it more backlinks. And I'm terrified that the journalists will go, oh, Jules Brooke from Handle Your Own PR, and no one will be able to
find you.
So, I mean, I'm probably being stupid, but that's just one of the things. I try and get my web address into every single media release I send out.
That's a good tip, because it is getting a link back to your website, which is where you want people going in the end. So that's the objective. You're building awareness around what you're doing, and if you're helping enough people, you will get some people coming through to your website itself. So
that's right. And often in newspapers, they're not as keen. So newspapers aren't as keen at doing the web address, but every other magazine, podcast, newsletter, industry magazines, and things like business magazines and things like that, they'll always give you that backlink.
Happy to do it. Okay.
And on TV or radio, they will normally post up the interview with some blurb telling people a link to your website to how to get more information or buy the product or whatever.
Sounds good. So, a question people might be thinking is, why don't I just go and hire a PR agency to do this for me? Why would I do this on my own?
Right. Really good question again. So if you've got the money, getting someone to do it for you is obviously ideal.
Yeah.
So you are looking probably at a minimum of $4,000 a month and minimum of 6 months, because it takes time to build a relationship with the media on your particular topic, and the agency will find that too. My argument for people who are in startups and entrepreneurs, and I do it a lot, I actually have I have very high profile people that come and work with me as well, and I say why, and they say because I want the relationship with the journalist myself, and also I want to understand how it works, so that even if I do employ an agency, I kind of know, if they're bullshitting me or not, because it's a little bit like women and car mechanics. I don't know whether I'm being screwed over or not.
Like it.
And the number of stories I hear from people about, I paid this agency, $60,000 even over a year, and I didn't get anything. And I'm like, are you insane?
Wow.
Like, if they don't get anything for you in a couple of months,
move on.
Then pull out.
Okay, that's a good tip.
And the other reason, of course, is that you learn a skill, and it is like riding a bike. Like, once you learn that skill, you can use it time and time again. And I see it with people that I've taught that are getting, consistent stacks and stacks of consistent media. And the last thing is price. So once you learn how to do it, it's free. Now, my courses are $2,000 or less for a 3-month course. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you? And once you learn how to do it, then all you'll need is media contacts. And ultimately, if you've done it for a couple of years, you won't even need those, because you'll have your favourite journalists, they'll have their favourites. What happens when you start to build a relationship is they'll start calling you and say, the editors told me to write a story about such and such. I know that you know about this. Can I get a comment from you?
Get it. So it becomes easier, obviously, as you go and get more credibility.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's having that relationship is probably important then, because if you're doing it through a PR agency, you're not having that one-on-one relationship. So I think that makes sense to want to do it on your own and build that relationship.
And the other thing, Andrew, is that when you talk with senior, like, I mean, I've been on a whole lot of panels with, journalists and editors and things like that. And I was on one for the NAB Small Business something or other a couple of years ago. And I was on there with it was the editor of Smart Company, the editor of the Australians Entrepreneur page, which I don't know that they have anymore, but they used to have.
Okay.
And I can't even remember who the others were. And someone in the audience said, really, like, if I send you an email, are you going to open it? And they said, and as a business owner, because I'm not a professional, and they said, we want to talk to business owners. So whether it comes through a PR agency or not, all they're going to do is facilitate an introduction, because the journalist wants to speak to the business owner, not to the PR agency.
And that's where value lies, and that's where the information sits. So that makes perfect sense, really, when you think about it.
Absolutely.
Get it. Okay. So if I'm out there in my own startup, in a business that's looking to promote myself, I've decided that I want to jump on and learn a bit about PR. Obviously, go to handleyourownpr.com.au would be the place to start. Now,
that would make me very happy.
Yeah, I imagine it would. I think there's a lot of bit of value here in terms of just understanding what this all means. Now, the next thing would be, how do I get access to your platform if I want to jump on? Because if I have to ring all these agencies and get access to people, that's obviously going to take a lot of time and effort. So
the platform is it's called the PR engine, and it's part of Handle Your Own PR. So you just go there, go to the PR engine and go and sign up. I've got two options. One is $350 for 3 months, and one is $897 or something for a year. I'm not quite sure what all that costs. But anyway, it's around there.
All right. All right. No, that sounds really, really good, and it's some good information for people that want to start and look at their own PR. So, if I was to, and I think there's massive value in what you do with journalists and actually working with them, what does that course look like? That's over 3 months. What sort of investment is that to actually get access to that course?
So it's $18.97.
Okay.
And but what I also did, knowing what the pandemic's like, and also that people are not necessarily, flush right now, but expecting money later, is we've made it $7.99 up front, and then you can pay $3.66 a fortnight for 3 further payments.
Okay, so
either way, it's the same price of $18.97, but there is a way of doing it so you can stretch it out over 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it is.
Oh, very good. And it's some good information for people out there that are looking to build awareness. And I think from my perspective, PR is not something I've overly considered. And I think a lot of businesses out there probably don't. They think that they need to be some expert, maybe written a book or something along those lines to be considered by journalists to get their story out there and just to help. And I think what you said today gives people a bit more insight as to, yes, you can actually get some publicity. Just do it. Put yourself out there.
It is much easier than people think it is, and it has much, much higher value than you would think as well.
Oh, perfect. Anthony, anything else you want to cover at this stage?
No, other than, so just to jump into Handle Your Own PR, go and have a look. I've got quite a lot of information on there. I've also got, some little PR education videos that are free. And I've also got a 45-minute webinar about PR and in there I've got examples of photography and things. That's on the website as well, on the homepage. And a few testimonials. But look, I'm always accessible. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone. And, I love teaching people how to do PR.
I can hear the passion in the voice, so I think everyone will appreciate that. So just
one more question I had. Is when you're doing one of those media releases and you're trying to reach out to the agencies, is it just article-based, or can you do like an audio recording or a video?
I don't think, look, my partner runs an audiobook production company, and we've talked about it a bit, and I have had journalists say, oh my God, I'd love it if someone gave me an excerpt from an audiobook. But I've never seen it work yet. Videos I'm seeing a lot more. So if you can put together a video that's under 2 minutes, that is informative. Again, this is about writing your media release as a video. So it's like, here are 4 reasons why you should be automating your business, or 3 tips about how to choose a good company to work, an IT company to work with, or whatever, then chances are you might get it picked up. Articles are the main thing. The other thing is, if you go to someone like Ticker TV or the TV stations, they will often take video as well. They like it so that they interview you and they've got that video running in the background.
Get it.
Okay.
And the only other thing I should say is through this pandemic, I'm running the PR accelerator, so that 1897 program every 2 weeks.
Okay, so anyone can pretty much grab onto this podcast if you're interested. Jump onto handleyourownpr.com.au.
And tell me that you've come from this, because it would be really interesting for me to know that you've heard this interview.
Yeah,
and I can feed it back to Andrew as well.
Yeah, it'd be good for us to know.
Yeah, it'd be good to see how it sort of plays out. But in terms of, I think this is really informative for people just to think a little bit outside the box. I think we were on a podcast a few weeks ago talking about how to market your SaaS products through the channels of putting out marketing content, blogs, Google ads, etc. This is a very different conversation around how to just build publicity behind your business.
And it works. Yeah. It just works so well. I'll give you one little story before I go. Yeah, sure. I had it's not a tech business, but I had a physio in the city that I worked with. And so I'm so used to working, by the way, with people that have no friggin' idea about marketing. So there is no problem if people have no idea. Yeah. This guy was a physio. He has a way of getting rid of migraines by manipulating people's necks.
Yes.
And he came to me because, of course, the other beauty of PR is that you can explain things, because in an ad you can't. You've got to be really simple in an ad, whereas in an article you get the opportunity to kind of explain. And so I said to him, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll take a case study, because a case study is a really strong way. The media love human stories as well. They love to hear, rather than telling them, here are the 4 tips, you could say, make up a person and say, or use a customer as an example. And what we did was we used an example of somebody who had she had been getting migraines, I think, every week or twice a week through her whole life. And she went to see this guy and she hadn't had any. He fixed it and she hasn't had one for 2.5 years. So she was a really huge advocate for him anyway. And we all have those kind of customers who love us. And what he did was he sent a story to the Herald Sun. They picked it up. What happens on the back of that is that radio scours the headlines looking for people to interview during the day, and so does TV. So it appeared on the Tuesday morning online and in the newspapers from about 3 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock in the morning, he gets a call from 3AW saying, would you come on and explain your technique to us? So he was absolutely thrilled, and he rang me afterwards going, oh, my God, my hands are shaking, but I did it, and it was great. Gets into the office, and every single one of the evening news rang him because they wanted to run the story.
Oh, wow.
So he ended up in the evening news on Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 7. Didn't have time to fit in SBS and ABC, which I loved.
Didn't have the time.
I know, who would turn that down? And then he said he got a hit on his website every minute for the next 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
To the extent that his web guy rang him and said, you've been hacked, which I just loved. Yeah. And he got 7 months worth of business in 2 days.
Oh, goodness me.
Wow.
So that's a story.
So that's what it can do. Yes. That's the real power of PR. If you can get it picked up and syndicated, then you're off and running.
And Jules Brooke, I think we'll leave it there. I think there's plenty of information and content as to why people should start looking to handle their own PR. So, yeah, reach out to Jules on LinkedIn and obviously her website. So thank you, Jules, for sharing what PR can do for a business and maybe some approaches that people can take to actually start doing it themselves.
My absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for inviting me, and I hope it was useful.
Cheers, Jules. It definitely was, even just for us. So, yes, appreciate it.
Great.